Hello, Fluketronic. Up today we have another first look video of a new Native American style flute. As you can see, this is Dragonfly Flutes number 452, low B, B3 minor, made of New Guinea rosewood with Huon pine end cap and block. A lot of nice carving, turquoise inlay on this one. This is my fourth flute from terrygreen in Australia. Was not really looking for this one. This came up recently in my feed from a Facebook friend, Brent Adams. He had actually ordered this from Terry, and I'll give you a link to his unboxing video and let you hear what Brent thought of this flute, and I'll give you my thoughts too. And what I'm going to do is compare it to my other bass flute from Terry, as well as a high B from Brent. So hopefully those will be informational. And of course we'll give playing samples on all those. So before I start playing, just to give a nice little touch, turquoise Dragonfly. So one of the things Brent had to say about this flute is that it had a touchy bottom note, and I can understand what he's talking about there. It's really easy, or kind of easy, for the bottom note to break into the upper octave. What's going on there is that this flute and some other flutes I've got is very sensitive to having the holes completely covered. So we'll try and give you an example of that when I start playing. So if you're experiencing that with one of your flutes, like it's just real easy for that bottom note to break, double check your fingering. That's what I'm finding with this guy. Is if I'm at all off, even on the upper hand, if there's any kind of crack there, that'll exacerbate that problem. But as long as you're careful about that, then it's not a problem. So it's just a little bit different playing technique. Also, some flutes need a different breath attack on the bottom note. So we'll kind of hear that too, that on the bottom of this flute it responds better if you just kind of breathe into it, kind of maybe a little bit heavy breath but not much tonguing action. And that's different from the upper end. So the upper notes want a little bit sharper attack to sound. So that's one of the things that one of the reasons I don't like unboxings too much is that it takes a little while to get used to a flute and how it responds in the different registers and even different notes to notes. You'll make subtle changes in the way you attack a note. Okay, so anyway, one of the things I really like about Terry's flutes is that they really match my particular playing style, really breath style, I guess. Well, and what I mean by that is if I just pick one of his flutes up and I just blow into it the way I feel naturally, it generally comes right in tune or very close to in tune. And that's not true of a lot of flutes. A lot of my flutes tend to play flat. So if I just pick it up and play, sounds great by itself, but it's flat relative to a tuner or a backing track. So Terry's flutes are not like that for me, so that's one of the reasons I really like the way he tunes and designs his flutes. Okay, well that's probably enough talking, so let's give you a playing sample. And as I do this, I'm going to be looking at my tuner because that's a way I like to use when I'm getting to know a flute on what's the right breath pressure, the right fingerings, particularly in the upper register to hit certain notes. So not usually something I like to do while playing for real, but for practice and especially getting acquainted to a flute, it kind of helps to keep my ear honest, if you will. So I'm going to be looking at the tuner here, and let's just give it a go. Okay, so that was the kind of basic scale. So you can see there, it just takes very little breath and has a soft voice to play in tune. So let's try some more chromatic notes. Yeah. So there you go. With the breaking, and what's happening there is I was not very careful on my upper hand, so let's try that again. So you can see if I've got the proper finger coverage there, it's a lot harder to get the bottom note to break. And you really have to push it. I can get it, you know, at least 30 cents sharp just with breath pressure. About 30 cents flat as well. So a lot of dynamic range with this flute with proper technique. And there again, the half hole again wants to break. But if you come down into it, then you're fine. So as soon as that crack happens, that's when it wants to break. So, you know, I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing. It's just something to be aware of as you're getting used to a flute. And certain flutes will need certain techniques, either breathing or playing to get the most out of them. So the upper end of this is pretty interesting. Starts getting sharp right around the octave note, and kind of ironically, if you remember my video on the B4, high B from Brent Adams, kind of has that same characteristic, so that the upper end is fairly sharp with normal fingerings, but I found some a little bit alternate fingerings that are a little more stable and even let you get above that minor third. So this one isn't quite as stable on that high major third, but that's very rare for Native American style flutes. Anyway, so let's try that again. I don't know what that note is. That's a very interesting harmonic. So I'll have to play around with that some more, but yeah, so let's give a comparison. So this is the low G, and some interesting things here. If you look at the spacing on the upper holes, they're actually pretty close. The G obviously goes lower, and if you try and line up the side blow with the mouthpiece on the smaller flute, you can see upper hand on the low G is actually a little higher. So that's one reason for the side blow, is to get those fingers in a little bit better position. And again, this one has that same characteristic that you really need to watch your hole coverage. let's break out the high B again. All right, so you get a sense of some of the similarities and differences between those three flutes. So I'll be putting together a cover track with this one pretty soon, maybe right after this. Let's just give a little bit more improv for this first look. All right, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for first tune with this guy.